everyone. Welcome to the channel. Amy here. I am doing my third video in my Tarot Biz Journey series today. And this Tarot Biz Journey series, if you haven't watched the first two, you don't have to watch them in order or anything. Um, it's really just talking about how I've spent the past year trying to rebuild my tarot business and give you tips and what I've learned, what I did right, what I did wrong, and all the good advice I can. So, hopefully, to inspire you to build your own tarot practice. And this week, I decided to combine two topics. So I'm going to talk about two things today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is how to define yourself as a tarot reader, or deciding what type of tarot reader you want to be. Now, if I look down, I have a lot of notes because I don't want to forget anything. And I also don't want to go off on a tangent, which I know I tend to do. Which I just did, right? All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is defining what type of reader you want to be. And then I'm going to talk about, once you do, how to get yourself out there. And the first thing or two things I recommend doing at the same time once you do decide. So let's talk about defining yourself as a reader. We talked about defining your why, and that's going to have a lot to do with what type of reader you end up being. And there are a lot of decisions you have to make before you can even start building your tarot practice. But the first thing I had to decide was, how was I going to get myself out there, and how was I going to present myself? So when I lived in New York and I had my tarot practice there, it was more word of mouth than anything. I did have a website, but I really was handing out business cards or reading in a community that I knew really well. So I read in a local coffee house pretty regularly, and everybody knew me. I grew up in the area. I was friendly with the owners and the people that worked in the coffee house. There were regulars that would come there and hang out. So that was pretty easy. And then the other part was the corporate parties. I got a lucky break. I got referred by someone I knew on a tarot forum, said, hey, my cousin lives in New York City, works in New York City, and their company's looking for a tarot reader to work at their corporate Christmas parties. Anyone in that area, are you interested? And I'm like, I can take a train to the city, no problem. And I did it. And it was scary that first time, but I ended up having a lot of fun. And of course, I had my cards on the table. And guess what? Business soared. I got asked to read at other corporate parties. I got asked to read at private parties, at people's houses. I did a lot of housewarming parties, plain old just girly parties where they get together just to have readings. I did bridal showers. That first party just set everything in motion for me. I didn't have to do a lot of marketing. Now, that was in New York. Now I live in St. Louis. I moved here like 4 years ago, and you have to remember, a year and a half of that was spent in my house due to the pandemic. So I don't know anyone here. It's also a very different culturally, if you will. So I don't know if it's really appropriate to sit in a coffee house all day and do readings. And I certainly don't know, or, in a friendly relationship with any of owners. So that's not going to work. And the truth is, I really didn't want to do parties anymore, right? The fact that I'm older now and parties take energy that I don't have, they do take a lot of energy when you do a party. You have to, I mean, that could be a whole nother video too. Um, and I didn't really want to do entertainment or predictive style readings. So, this is the first thing you need to decide. What type of reader do you want to be, and how do you want to give your readings? Do you want to be an entertainer and work parties and corporate events? Do you want to be a fortune teller and work the hotlines or Etsy? Do you want to be more of a consultant where you're going to work one on one with a client and consult the cards to help make decisions or to, to decide, how to best handle something? Or my favorite, which is the spiritual life coach tarot reader. So once you decide the style and what you have, how you really want to meet with your client, then you can go on to the next step. But first, you really have to decide this. So I decided, because, like I said, of the energy it takes to do parties and the fact that I was living in an area that I don't know many people or the culture very well. I decided to do all my readings online going forward, unless it was someone I knew very well and I had a nice private place where I could feel comfortable giving them a reading. Um, so I decided to do one-on-one Zoom readings with people I knew face to face, or on Etsy I could do recorded readings, video recorded readings where I would record the cards, or audio, and even I offer PDF email readings. So that's what I decided to do. Think about your why, think about the kind of customers you want, then think about the kind of readings you want to do. And then once you do that, now you're going to start building. And this will give you an idea of how to write up your offers as well. All right, so right away, what I focused on once I made that decision was getting my Etsy shop up, and also I had to refresh my website. So the website, both these things you should do right away or as soon as possible, and you should work on them both at the same time because they're both important, and both of them, it will take a while for the internet to start picking up on them. So you have to get it up there as soon as possible so that you can start getting yourself out there. So the Etsy shop is a lot of work and very time consuming. And it's going to have its own video, or maybe even two, because there's a lot to talk about there. And there's also some great YouTube videos on starting your tarot business on Etsy. Free stuff too. That's really good. That helped me even. So, but we'll talk about Etsy probably in the next video. But I'm going to talk about the website because I think if anyone, even if you're not going to have a practice that you're going to depend on the income for, or if it's more for fun than for business purposes, you really do need a website. So I had a website on WordPress that was created in 2008. I actually had one before that I created with iWeb, an old Apple application that they no longer have. I think I started that in 2005, but they discontinued that and I moved everything to WordPress. I'm self-taught on WordPress, but there's a lot of free courses on YouTube, and also you can go to a place like Udemy website where they sell courses and have really good sales. You could get something for under $20 on how to build a website. Um, so my website had been dormant for many years. I just checked before I recording this, and I stopped recording around 2012, or updating my website around 2012. And I think I had one other blog post in there um, since then, and that was it. It also was very antiquated looking. I hadn't updated the template, the theme that it was on, or the graphics or pictures or anything. And even the about stuff I had about me was not very good. Um, and most of all, I actually had a page where I still had my old rates up, and for parties and all of that. I charged $150 an hour for parties back in the early 2000s and had no problem getting that. And by the way, if you're learning tarot, parties are a great way to learn, or working at a bar, because they're not actually, usually the host pays for them. So they're not going to be overly critical of your reading. So it's a great way to get practice, just saying. Um, so my website name, if you haven't checked it out, is hudsonvalleytarot.com. And I set that up specifically because if someone Googled tarot reader in the Hudson Valley, I would come up. And it was like, the idea just came to me because I was going to use Tarot with Amy, Tarot Readings by Amy, or something like that. And I was just like, well, why don't I put Hudson Valley in there? This way they know where I am. And if they need someone at a party, they can call me. And I'll tell you, even though I hadn't even updated my website, and the SEO on it was garbage, throughout still am getting requests to work parties in the Hudson Valley of New York. Excuse me. So that is something to think about when you pick the name for your website. Choose it wisely, and make it something that it's easy for people to remember. Okay? All right. So the first thing I did was take down that rate page because it was old. Also, I didn't want to offer readings quite yet because I was still working full time, and I was putting all my energy into getting the offers up on Etsy. That took me months. I did have I would say it took me solid 2 to 3 months. Yeah, working, because I was working full time. But if you work on it full time, obviously much less, but it's serious work. The other thing for WordPress I had to do was update my about page. I put an updated picture of me in there. I had to update I had credentials and everything, like all the classes I've taken, and all the Reader's Studio I attended. I had to update that as well. Let's see. Okay. And I gave it a beautiful facelift with a new and modern WordPress template. That took a lot of work, but here's the most important thing I did. I bought a class on SEO. SEO is search engine optimization, and you have to know about SEO if you want to build a website that anyone's going to go view. And I took a class on Udemy. I think it cost me $20 or $25, and it was worth every penny. I did everything the guy said to do, and I can see it's been about a year. It's not been a year. It's been since September that I took the SEO thing, September of 2022, and it's starting to pick up now. So you have to understand SEO, and you have to write your content so that it's going to optimize your search engine, being found by the search engines. There is a free plugin for WordPress, and I'm sorry, I only know WordPress. I don't know any of the other platforms for website building, and I know there are others that are much simpler. But the plugin I used for WordPress was Yoast, and it's pretty. I think it's the most popular one out there, and there's a free version that will serve you pretty well. So that's what I recommend for SEO: a Classroom Udemy and Yoast plugin. Um, okay, so I updated everything there, and I also another thing I want to talk about. They want to read on your website about how you will help them solve their problems. That's the other thing I learned. Uh, Before I updated my website, I talked all about me, my reading experience, my reading journey, why I love tarot, my tarot journal, all me. Nobody gives a crap about you. Okay? They care about themselves. So write about you, but have it be about them. And you're going to have to learn to do this. I'm still learning. It's hard. It's hard, but I rewrote my about page. I hope it's better. I don't even know, because I realize it's really hard not to talk about yourself. It just is. So, but that is something you really have to think about when you write. You have to know what kind of customer you want and write like you're talking to, exactly as if you're talking to them. Um, and have all the SEO's keywords in there. It's really not simple. Um, and then finally, you don't have to have a blog, but if you have a blog, post regularly. When you have regular content, that also increases your SEO, and people like to see things. They forget about you if you don't make yourself constantly known. So write posts that you know they'll be interested in, and write about it as if you're talking to them. And try and, you could talk about your experiences, but try not to make the posts about you and your life, and try and make it more about something that will help your future customers, okay? And something that they'll be interested in reading. And short and sweet is the name of the game, because, attention spans are not what they're used to. People also like videos, little videos you can embed in your blog. Um, so, um, okay, checking my notes, sorry. Uh, I didn't do, okay. I didn't do this right away. If you notice, I said I started blogging again in September, and I took the SEO course in September. I updated the template right away so it looked better. And also I wanted to take the reading page out entirely, where it had my rates. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I didn't do any of the other updating because I was focused more on getting the Etsy shop up and running, because my thought was I knew I was going to lose my job at the end of 2022. So I had a year to prepare. Unfortunately, my mother died, and that took a lot of time away because I had to care for my father for like 4 months. But the goal was to get that Etsy shop up and get some customers again. And I did that with the help of Kim. If you didn't watch my last video, Kim is the mentor that helped me get my website up, and she's the one that taught me the importance of knowing what kind of reader you want to be and how important that is, so that you can write your offerings in a way that you attract those people. I wish I had started the website at the same time as the Etsy and gave it equal importance, because even though I wasn't selling my readings through the website at the time, the SEO would have kicked in. So they say it takes about a year for search engines to pick up your website. So even if you update your website today, for SEO, and it's written perfectly. Even maybe you hired someone that specializes, right, to write all your content so it was search engine optimized. It's going to be a year before you start coming up in searches. And that's no bueno, right? And I waited until, like I said, around September of last year to start doing this. And I waited too long. So I'm starting to see it pick up, and it's what? It's March now. So December, 4, 5, 6, it's about 6, 7 months. So I'm starting to see some more activity on my website, which is good. But it takes a while. So do it as soon as you can. And you have to have a website. I'm going to talk to you about that because it is important. So lesson number 1, don't wait to do the SEO optimization and update your website or create it, whichever, is appropriate for you. Also, if you don't want to WordPress is not the simplest website to start. There are other website builders out there that are much easier than WordPress. And if you don't need a blog, you don't really need WordPress. So go ahead and keep it simple, but make sure you have an about page. Make sure you have a page that you're selling your readings from and shows them how they can arrange a reading with you. And on that page, have a disclaimer. It's really important to legally say something to the effect that your readings are for entertainment only. You're not a professional, legal, medical, psychological, or anything disclaimer. You have to have that. I copied it off of someone else's website, but you have to make it very clear that you're not a professional and you're not there to give professional advice. I can talk more about that in another one, but make sure you have that on your page that you offer your readings. And then also have a page with like your qualifications or your policies on returns and things like that. I highly recommend a blog because it's a great way to get people to your website and also post to other sites, which helps your SEO. When you post to other sites and other sites post to your website, it increases your SEO. Okay, so really what type of website you build depends on what you need. You could need something very simple, but blogs, I do recommend the blog. Now, you might be thinking, I don't need a website. I have thousands of followers on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or Facebook even. Well, you still need to do your website, and better yet, have an email list, because you can lose your social media platform really easily. And people lose them all the time. They get hacked, and Instagram decides that you're the imposter and shuts down your account. Or I don't know if you've heard of Amy Sawyer, of Jamie Sawyer. She is a tarot creator, and her some robot. She got like too many followers in a short amount of time, and they decided it was a false account. I don't know, but that's why they decided to shut down her Instagram, and she lost access to all her followers, and that was how she communicated to them. So she had to rely on creating a new account and telling other people what happened to her and follow me here. And really, this could happen to anyone at any time. So you cannot rely on social media as a way to keep in touch with your clients. You have to have a place for them to go if your social media accounts get shut down. It happens. It happens. And they don't owe you any explanation. You don't own your followers there, and you can't get them back. So do it. Plus, algorithm stuff is really terrible on those platforms, so don't rely on it. I'm not saying don't have a good social media account, because that's also very helpful, but I'm saying it can't be the only thing you depend on. You also, let's see, okay, you also need, you might be thinking, if you have an Etsy shop, you'll have followers there. Or if you do like a hotline, you think, I don't need followers. You still do. Because here's the deal, even Etsy can shut down your shop on a dime and not owe you any explanation. They think you're not following a policy, they will shut down your shop and you will never get it back. And you will lose all your customers and your income, and you will have no way to get it back. So what I'm saying is have a website, and even better yet, it takes an investment, but have an email list. It takes a long time to build an email list. It takes a lot of dedication, but that's by far the best way to communicate with clients or potential clients, is through an email list. So, a little summary here. Let's break it down. So, I talked about a lot, and some might apply to you, some might not. It depends on how serious you are about this practice and how dependent you will be on it. So the first thing I would say is it's really important to decide what type of reader you want to be, so that you know what is the best way to put yourself out there. If you want to be an entertainer, you want to read at parties and things, get on places like LinkedIn or talk to people and friends you know that have jobs in corporate places. Realtors like to do parties and things like that. And you could do parties, work parties for companies that are doing an event for clients, You have to get yourself out there. It would help to write articles and things in local places so that you can, again, get yourself some credibility and exposure. The other thing we talked about after you define what type of reader you want to be is how do you want to do your readings. So I decided to do mine virtually on Etsy for now, and because I was working full time, I did not do live one-on-one readings. I decided to do recorded video, audio, or PDF readings, so I didn't do live. I do them now, but I'm not working full time anymore, or I'm working full time, but not at a corporation. So it will depend on your time and availability and what might work best for you. So you decide how you want to deliver it. And then once you decide, start building the platform. So for me, it was Etsy, which takes a lot of time to set up. It's easy, but getting all the offers that you're going to put up for sale and all of the graphics for your shop is very time consuming. And the same for your website. You have to write content for your website. You have to write an about page. You have to write about what they can expect from your readings. You have to put it out there like you're solving a problem for them. What am I going to get for my soulmate reading? What are you going to tell me? Write it out, and make sure you're showing them how you're going to answer their questions or solve their problems or whatever it is they're coming to you for. And you're going to know that based on the type of person you want to read for and the type of readings you want to do, right? So that is number 2. Number 3 is website. You have to have a website. You have to have a place outside of social media where people can find you, and you have to make it searchable. So you have to learn about SEO and make your website optimized for search engines. Okay. Start those as soon as you can because it takes time for it to happen. And finally, the best thing you can do which is an investment. And if you can't do it, there are ways. There are, I think ConvertKit. There's there's so many, and I don't know them all. I use ConvertKit for my email service provider, and it costs money after you reach 1,000. It's free up into 1,000 email subscribers. So there's lots of email service providers you can join that give you free up into a certain amount of subscribers. So do that. And the trick there is to communicate regularly. Otherwise, they forget about you, or they stop. Your emails just go to a junk folder and they never see them. So that is what I'm recommending. The two most important things are, as soon as possible, set up your website, set up your Etsy shop, and get them ready for search optimization. And that's it. I wanted to say that I have gotten some questions from my people watching the videos. I welcome any questions. Please shoot me an email at amy@hudsonvalleytarot.com with your questions. If you have submitted a question, I want you to know I have them, and I'm waiting to accumulate more. And I was thinking I would do one recording where I'll go through all the questions. So if you have questions related to building a tarot practice, please email me and I will answer them. So thank you for watching. I hope you all feel inspired, and I hope this information was really helpful for you. If you haven't already, check out my website, hudsonvalleytarot.com, and there's opportunities for free downloads and to join my email list. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you're not following me, and it would really mean the world to me if you could follow my YouTube channel and give this video a like. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.